I am so excited to have Yosef. Though I think Yosef, we know each other for a while, and you're the COO of Blings. But I feel like you're more than a COO. I feel like obviously you're a founder and COO, but and there's not a lot of things that you could be more than that in a company. But I definitely feel like you've really taken the role of being not just the CEO of this beautiful startup, but also kind of taking this really strong thought leadership position in the industry as a whole, and kind of talking about things that people were not talking about before. About optimizing CRM marketing, about taking things from the static into the dynamic, and personalizing everything and making email great again and mass marketing great again.
There you go.
Yeah. And, people were kind of people in the industry are saying, what are Blings the next HubSpot? And I would come to you and tell you, would that be a fair assessment? And you would come and basically say, you guys work with HubSpot.
Exactly.
But,
exactly.
But just the point of people talking about that and putting you and HubSpot in the same kind of sentence, and articles coming out, people mentioning you guys in the same kind of bracket. What do you think about that? It's there's lots of hype. What's your kind of personal take?
I mean, first of all, we have a great PR, right? We have to just put that out there. But being compared to HubSpot, it's funny. Like you said, we're complementary for each other, right? It's almost like saying HubSpot on steroids, right? Because the main messaging we're trying to say is, you're personalizing through tokens. People don't really care. Everybody's used to it. But the real personalization should be the medium, right? That's where your users are. You're personalizing the text, maybe even the images, but nobody wants to see that. No one's going into your email in HubSpot and scrolling and saying, wow, this is incredible. I love this content, right? Give them a video, and that's a medium they're used to seeing. So the thought leadership that we're doing at Blings is really just trying to educate people on the importance of real personalization, of hyper personalization, of customizing video, and thinking about it as if it's a regular text.
Do you feel like people are starting to understand how important that is? We've seen several things happen just in the last several months. We've seen mass platforms like Apollo, or several other mass marketing, mass LinkedIn outreach, those kind of platforms. We see them actually getting banned from platforms like LinkedIn, and we're seeing that people are there. Lots of those mass email platforms are not getting into users because people are not opening them. They're going straight to the spam folders, and now Google and LinkedIn and all big tech is being extra careful. Do you think finally people are paying attention to this, how important personalization is?
I think in general, when you look at marketing as a whole within an enterprise, right? So you have the brand, and you have the demand gen, or the growth they call it, and then you have the product marketing, which is where the CRM sits, right? I think in general, there isn't enough efforts, not enough money going into what we call product marketing to CRM marketing, because it hasn't been working in the last few years. So there's actually a downgrade, and people are looking for something new. So if you used to have 5 or 10 people working on a team, today you have 2, and they don't have enough budget, right? Because it wasn't converting. And we're here, just like you said at the beginning, to make emails great again, right? And we believe we can do that. We think that's the messaging that really resonates with our clients. But it's not only email, it's any first-party channel. So it could be SMS, it could be in-app, but anywhere where a company is communicating with the end user, with the user, right? And it's all textual based, 100%, because that's all technology allows today. So we want to make each one of those touch points into an interactive video experience.
What's interesting is that if you looked 5 or 10 years ago, there wasn't the tech stack available to do something like that. And then you guys kind of came in with the MP5, and people at first were like, what the heck is MP5? And there was some market education that needed to be done around that. And now people understand that the MP5 actually lets you do things that you couldn't do before. And I have 2 questions here on this topic. One, if you can kind of explain to the audience what MP5 is,
Sure.
the MP5 is for people who've never heard about it. And then the second thing is, what's kind of the business model around it? Because you guys also have a tech B2B segment where you guys are lending the MP5, and you guys are also using it for your enterprise clients as well. So I'd love to hear about that as well.
Sure. So let's talk about the MP5 for a second. essentially, and we don't need to get technically how it works, but when you create a video, you have to export it from some kind of editing tool, right? And we call that a rendering, right? Rendering. So there used to be an MP3 file, right? Which was audio. Then there was MP4, which is creating these renders every single time, right? You create a video for Omri. And now I want to create for Yosef. I have to create 2 separate videos every single time, right? So if I have 100,000, I need to create 100,000 videos, which isn't scalable. It's not real time, and it's actually very, very costly. So MP5 is here not only to put MP3 and MP4 together into something bigger, but it's a new paradigm, right? It's a shift completely in the way we look at video. So instead of creating videos on the server side, right, what we do instead of creating 100,000, we only create a single video template that gets created while you're watching the video in actual real time.
Wow.
So we're using your computation power, your device, to generate that video in real time, which means we have unlimited scale, right? We can create hundreds of millions of videos, all personalized, different sequences within a millisecond. And I think what we bring to the enterprise world is it's secure, right? So we're never exposed to any user data. So we won fintech competitions, not because we're a fintech company at all, but because we let banks and financial institutions and insurance companies all communicate very, very sensitive information without exposing any of that.
Right.
Right. So the MP5 is really saying we can create a scalable, personalized solution that's also secure and also in real time. That's if I have to kind of put it in a few words, which is also a lot, right? I said that in a very long sentence. But that's what the MP5 is. And it's our own patent. It was actually patent approved this year, which is exciting.
How much time did it take to kind of build that tech?
So we've been around for 4.5 years. We've been working on it for the first couple of years, really making sure it's secure. So Jonathan, CEO and my co-founder and dear friend, he's more on the tech side, and he came from WSC Sports. So he understood some kind of pain there at the beginning, and then we kind of understood where we should take that technology and Jonathan's knowledge in front-end computing. And that's kind of how we got to this idea. But we've been working on it from day one, and it's always getting better. But the difference is today we have a whole tool set around the video creation. So it's not only how do you connect the data points, right? But there's a much, much deeper element. So anyone can be a video creator, essentially.
So let's talk about the second question about the business model around that. So you guys have your enterprise clients. You guys work with like literally the biggest names out there, like McDonald's, Mercedes, you know, just like this mega huge brands, and they trust you guys, and they some of them also invest in you guys. That just kind of like showcases the immense trust that they have. And you know, I always tell like people that we work with that, and I tell my employees, and I tell people in the industry, even VCs that I talk to, and I tell them like, when a company is a client of a startup, and then they decide the product is so good, they want to invest and take actual equity inside the startup. That's like an amazing kind of notion that things are going well. Let's talk about the business model. Like, so you guys have those type of clients, but you guys also lend the tech stack without like white label it in a sense. Can you expand on that?
So essentially we have a technology, right? We're not a studio, we're not an agency, we don't create, but we enable video creators to generate these videos themselves, right? From Adobe After Effects, from the regular editing platform that they're used to using, stay there, but instead of rendering what we called an MP4, now just render an MP5. Right. So we can work in a lot of different models. When we work directly with brands, it's always saying, you know, we license a template. So let's say you have, let's just call it a welcome or an onboarding, right? So, hi, welcome to rewards something. You have this many points. You're in this tier. Great to have you on. Here's a special promotion just for you, right? So almost every company that deals with loyalty has some kind of welcome. So that template would be licensed, and they can basically send as many as they want. So it's unlimited license on a per template basis. So now you want 2, you'll get a better deal. You want 5, you'll get a better bundle, right? So with McDonald's, you touched on McDonald's. They started as a design partner, moved to a client with over 30 use cases until they said, we want in, we want to invest. And they came knocking on the door, and we're very proud of that story.
That's amazing. So let's talk about like interactive media. So there's like a huge shift. Like people are going crazy right now about what like AI is doing, like platforms like Sora.
What is that, AI? And I didn't hear about it. Oh.
I don't know. Can you tell me?
I've never heard of it. No, I don't know. I think it's trending.
It's trending. It's yes. You hear it on the street.
Yeah.
When the barber starts talking to you about AI, something's becoming mainstream.
Yeah.
So like interactive media is like becoming like an insane topic. Why? Because you have like platforms like Sora and like Next Gen and like all those other platforms that are like video creation. And by the way, it's funny because you guys are being mentioned in those type of categories as well. Like suddenly you see Blings being mentioned next to Sora, and I think it's crazy. Like an Israeli startup being mentioned around those like big, huge OpenAI names. I think that's like a lot of credit to what you guys are doing. And what I want to understand is like, I'm big into movies. I like TV. I like cinema. I'm like a big.
You're not alone.
You're not. Yeah, I think we both have kind of like this artsy kind of thing outside of like the business aspects, which I think kind of interacts with the business itself. And the thing is that. You look at Netflix, for example, they have been launching like interactive experiments, right? Like interactive movies or stuff like that. And they're working on it. And when I read the Hollywood Reporter, people are talking about like what's next in that field. And they're talking about everything being interactive. And you guys are actually starting it in terms of like, of the mess of like if we're talking about video marketing, if we're talking about email marketing, like you guys are creating legit interactive experiments. Now, it's very easy and understandable for the audience to understand why an interactive experience is better than a static one. But can you just share some numbers or just like some facts of like what you guys are seeing like in terms of results for your clients in terms of those interactive experiences?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it is the future. I agree with you 100% because people want to be sometimes active in some kind of experience, right? You want to be passive. Sometimes you want to watch a video, but a lot of times you're on TikTok, you are active. So it depends how you interact with videos. And that's kind of what we offer. So, I mean, we have many case studies, but one that comes to mind is interesting because when we think about personalization, you usually think, oh, hi, first name, right? And that's not personalization at all. And an interesting campaign that we did with Wyndham, which was sent to a lot. So Wyndham are hotels, they own Ramada, they own Days Inn, they have 120 million members, right? They're a very, very big company. And what the value they saw with us was actually the interactivity you were talking about, right? So it was data collection. So something about Blings, it's not only transmitting a message, but you also can really measure the actual clicks, what interests who, and then you can use that data to then generate more journeys, right? So think about the welcome that we were talking about before. And now I say, Omri, welcome to Wyndham. What do you like? Do you like golf? And then you say yes or no. Yes, I like golf. Do you like all-inclusive? Yes, and it's 100% interactivity, right? And I mean, you know as well as I that anyone that clicks on something, you lose about 50% in every journey, right? It doesn't matter in landing pages, no matter where you are. With Blings, that doesn't happen.
Wow.
Yeah, people stay because the content is engaging and because it's something they've never seen before, right? So with Wyndham, there were 7 questions, and we had a 67% rate of people that started the questions to finish the 7th question.
That's crazy.
It was really, really phenomenal. So, and that's all measured, of course, and then you create journeys for each one of those users based on what they like and dislike. So you use that data, you could collect it, you could type in the video. So there was also an open field, where would you like to go to, things like that. And that's also all collected directly to their CRM. And it saves a lot of time, a lot of energy on their end. And it's probably a use case they wouldn't even think of because they wouldn't even have that ability to do it.
It's fascinating because if you guys, the audience who's listening, if you guys go to like blings.io and you enter the Blings website, you literally get that experience right on. So your own website is interactive, and like you can actually choose your own experience, and it actually shows your like ICP, your ideal prospects, what they can kind of like expect. And I think that's why the new website has gotten such a big like viral hit in terms of the media and getting awards and stuff like that. Do you think that it's actually doable for like every enterprise brand to do something like that, to go all in on interactive?
So that's also a very good question. And first of all, I need to say great job to Deloitte Awesome for the website. It really helped us. And like you said, we eat our own dog food, right? If we wouldn't do that, what does that mean about our product? So I'm happy you like that experience also.
It's a great experience. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, it's the first of its kind. It really
never
is.
Seen anything.
Really
like that.
is. We're very proud of it. Sorry, but could you go back to the question?
Yeah. So the question was like, do you think that like, obviously, like enterprises who are like very tech first, it'll be more doable and easier for them to go into all in interactive. But do you think this is something that like could expand across all types of enterprises and even enterprises who are not quote unquote like tech friendly in a sense?
So I would steer the question a little bit differently. Instead of asking, are they tech friendly? Are they video friendly, right? Because we don't even need to be a technology. We help you convert through video. Forget about everything I said before, about the back end, about the MP5. We're a converting tool. That's what we do essentially, right? So the question is, when we look at a company, when we look at our ICP, part of our ICP is saying, are they video first company, right? Because if you need to teach them that video is good, and then beyond video, why interactive video is good, we're not there, right? If they're that far behind, we're not going to teach them, anything. So we look for companies that understand the value of video, which is most companies, right? Most companies in the Fortune 500 have an Instagram page or, at least TikTok. So that's where we are. So that's kind of what we look at, not necessarily in the interactivity, because that's harder. And we still need to educate the market about that, which is something that we're working on, but it's not a commodity. It's not I use Monday, right? And if I wouldn't use Monday, I would use Asana. And if not Asana, I would use Trello, but I need that, right? That's a tool that I need.
You've already been educated that that's the tool you need.
Exactly. Now, what we have, it's not a nice to have, but people don't know that they need to have it, right? But once they try it, we're very, very proud of our land and expand strategy. People, like companies, use multiple videos right off the bat.
I have more of like a philosophy question. So, and this kind of ping pongs off what you just said right now. So you said, obviously, I personally believe that Blings is a must have, especially for like enterprise, like very like B2C enterprises who have a wide customer base, and they really want to like get that extra sauce and like get that extra advantage and edge over like their competitors. In terms of like timeline, when do you think it'll be a must-have? Like where it will be treated like a Monday, where it will be treated like a CRM or like an HR software or like something you must have. Like if you look at like, because when you read studies, and I might get this data wrong, so don't kind of like jump at me, but I think that once an industry has deploys about like 30 or 40% of an industry deploys a certain technology, I think it starts to become must have because you need to play with your competitors, right? So what do you think is the timeline for that?
Look, so I think right now we're still in early adopters, right? And the fact is you're getting emails.
Right.
And less than 1% of your emails include video, and definitely not personalized video. Why aren't companies sending you personalized videos? Right? It's not because they don't want to. It's because they can't and they don't even know it exists. So it's not going to happen tomorrow. Maybe not even this year, but we're very close. We feel it. Like when we talk to companies, something clicks right away. First conversation, something clicks, right? They're there.
And that wasn't before, you mean? That wasn't
before. You said like, again, 4 years ago, it was much harder. So there's more awareness to the significance of video. Like all marketeers know that their users are in Netflix and YouTube and TikTok, right? They're thinking about it. They know that.
Right.
Then when you kind of bring the MP5 and Bling, something connects right away. So right now it's really about marketing. How do we get to everyone's awareness? Because they're looking for a solution, right? They're problem aware. They're not solution aware yet. So they're moving down the funnel. That's where we need to hit them.
Your analytics, Bling's analytics dashboard is super impressive. Like you can actually, because I thankfully got access to it so I can look at it. But like, first of all, I would like you to describe in better detail than I would do. But like what I found super beautiful about the platform is that as a marketer, you can actually see where they clicked and you can see the percentage of like the interactive experience of your user, and you get this access where like I'm telling you, like I don't think even HubSpot or any other of like there's many, or like MailChimp or like any other of those like email platforms, they don't have that precise of like of an analytics, kind of like knowledge of what your customers are doing. So can you just take us over that like backhand of the analytics?
Sure. So when we built the platform, we were really thinking about the marketeer. What do they need? What do they want? And the two things that we thought of back then, interviewing lots of different marketeers and with our experience, one is they want to know exactly what's going on in the video. And two, they want the ability to change if something is not performing well in the analytics. And that's what we gave them, the Blings platform, right? So
and they can do that in real time.
In real time. You can change text. You can change, colors. You can do anything you want in the video. Instead of thinking about it, we were talking about 100,000 videos before creating. Now, if you want to make a change, you just change once and it changes all the videos out there in real time. So the analytics, we know you can see the exact funnel, right? And if there's a drop in scene 3, so you can see why. You can see like the actual funnel and you say, hey, something's written wrong. I don't know, I have a typo, right? Or the messaging doesn't really work. And then you can, by the way, also A/B test within the platform and see, or multivariant testing. Something we didn't talk about, we were talking about AI a little bit before. We have something new called AI optimization. So it's something you'll see in the analytics, but it's really creating multiple variations for a same scene. And then our algorithm knows how to optimize in real time based on whatever outcome you want. If it's engagement, if it's watch time, if it's conversion, whatever that is, right? And like you said, the analytics is super robust. So you'll see also the AI optimization, you'll see the funnel, but you'll see the operating system, you'll see the geography, you'll see within each scene if there's a drop, where there's a drop, and you can really just get the full picture from there. So that was very important for us from the beginning to kind of make sure the marketeer has access to that.
Where do you think video is going in general in terms of like, obviously now everything is like more vertical oriented and Blings is also kind of like optimized also for vertical. But you look at TikTok, you look at Reels, you look at like YouTube Shorts, you look at like all this like fast, like easy, like the attention spam is kind of like ridiculous right now and people are consuming more vertical. Do you think like people like, do you think like in 5 or 6 years, someone will basically go into TikTok and will actually like use the, like, actually choose their own experience and like we're already kind of choosing it in terms of the algorithms, but like the actual video would be so advanced that you can actually get your own experience on every single reel or every single TikTok?
I mean, the future is really crazy where it's going, especially with video. What we're hoping, our technology should be a commodity, right? It should be everywhere. One thing that you can do, for instance, that we're hoping down the line is you, as Omri, can now upload a video of yourself to TikTok, and every viewer, you will personalize something to them, right? So this could be, I mean, UGC is definitely the future, right? User-generated content. We also have some incredible case study I can share with you about friend referral, right? So I would get a video saying, yo, say if you just deserve a free hamburger, send it to someone you want. Then I would type in your name and say, Omri, this hamburger, free hamburger for you. Right?
Wow.
Then you'd get a video saying, hi, Omri, Yosef just gave you a free hamburger. Now, the average share rate that we're usually seeing, like the referral rate, is 2 to 5%. We had a 47% share rate. Right?
That's crazy.
And then a 54% click rate that actually redeemed that hamburger. Right? So it's really crazy. UGC is the future. And we're just starting to feel it. In video. And this is just the beginning. That's what we're starting to feel now. But one day you'll be able to personalize to me through TikTok.
This is crazy because like there's so many segments where like your platform is a fit. So you've got this like whole customer journey from basically like the welcome till like through the welcome to the like confirmation of like an order or whatever, to the upsell, to the referral program, to the like, you know, the continuous like what people do now is newsletters, like the continuous like conversation with your customer to kind of engage with them, you know, throughout the years. Like it's like, you know, through like the happy birthday announcements to the, like your anniversary. Like there's so much.
I did my wedding invitation with Blings.
Really?
So everyone got, you know, welcome to Yosef's wedding, but it was done very, very easily. It's not even very hard.
Like the amount of touch points that you guys are gonna be touching. It's unbelievable. And just to think about like the data that you guys are going to be able to get. I know you guys are all into like obviously full on security and you guys like have all all that set in place, but like dude, you guys are going to be like a data company, like with this massive amount of like touch points and just knowing and just like having like this intuition of like, okay, this brand is, you got to like, there's so much you guys can do in this field. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, that brings us back to the thought leadership, right?
Right.
And like you said, so it's aggregated data. I don't know that John liked golf, right? Or that he likes all inclusives, but I know what 20% of the people liked and what the other 15 liked. So that's data that's really very incredible. So you could do that by geographical location. You could do it by device, a lot of different segmentation. But we're not going to be a data company. Right. We're going to be thought leaders. And we are, you
guys are a platform.
We're a platform.
It's a platform. It's an end-to-end platform for video marketing at scale that is personalized. It's not mass produced. And the numbers show that the conversion is much higher.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you like, obviously this might be too sensitive, but like obviously all the big like platforms in your space are looking at you guys. HubSpot is looking at you guys. A ClickUp is looking at you guys. Like, do you see yourself kind of like engaging conversations in terms of maybe like getting acquired by one of those platforms?
So I think it's always good to kind of generate relationships, right?
Right.
These things take time in any way, but I can say, a lot of different companies and a lot of different, they reached out and we're developing different relationships. And we need to understand, first of all, what we want to do, because we want to change the internet. We want to break anything that of video and tell you it's not true. There's something better.
Right.
Right. And that's the MP5. So the best route to do that will be determined. At the beginning, we're doing very well in what we're doing. We're going to make it more accessible soon to many, many more users, which is going to be exciting. You could follow. I mean, I know you follow on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But we're going to have some very, very exciting announcements very, very soon.
Great. I'm really, really looking forward to that. I want to talk about entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to say some things like behind the scenes that people are saying about you, Yosef, personally.
Oh,
okay. So I'm going to have some juice here. Listen, people are saying that you're obviously one of the most talented young entrepreneurs.
Young.
You are young, bro.
Yeah.
You are young, and people are talking about like about how talented you and Jonathan is, but people are also talking about like kind of like you specifically. And when we talk to VCs and they mention and they talk about you, you know what they say? They say the beautiful thing about Yosef is that every 3 months we're like we meet him again, or like if it's in like I don't know, like an icon event or just like a one-on-one meeting you have with VCs and entrepreneurs, and people talk, man. People talk. Mm-hmm. They say you kind of like accelerate your thinking. Like every 3 months when they meet you, you're like in a different headspace in terms of your knowledge, in terms of your expertise, in terms of like the way you do things, and the in terms of like the actions that you guys take in Blings. And when I ask people, why do you think that is? Like, because that's obviously a positive trait. They say it's you have, if they had to kind of judge you, they would say you have a very high percentage of openness. So they would say like, you're super open to feedback, to optimization, to learning, to create, to like, kind of like investing in things that people have not done before. And people are paying attention to that. And not a lot of entrepreneurs are like that. And you would say like, well, every entrepreneur is an innovator, so you would think he would basically come up with this new things and like would be open to new things. But not a lot of entrepreneurs are actually open to trying new things. And people are saying like Yosef is open, and because he's open, he's gaining more knowledge. He's listening. He's not just like he doesn't have like this big ego where he wants to like dominate the conversation, but he's actually listening, getting this insights. And people are paying attention to that. So what is that like something you could like cultivated like early on? Is that like part of your own personality and you just like you were born this way? Like I want to understand about the philosophy behind that, the psychology behind that.
It's interesting. So I mean, in terms of openness, I know that I don't know, right?
Right.
I mean, that's what keeps me motivated. That's why I go to work every day. That's why I love what I do, is because I'm learning and I'm growing every single day. There's always something new that's hard that some will say this, how do you do this? And then you just go head first and you're able to do it. So every day you prove to yourself how good you can be, right? I think, look, growing up in a family of 9, you have to be quiet sometimes, and you have to know when to talk and when to listen. So, and I was one of the younger ones, right? I'm number 7. So
religious family, by the way.
Religious family. So there's something about listening that I always also appreciate that in other people. Like when someone listens before you talk, and then you feel what you're saying is being heard. You know what I mean? So I try to exercise that in my life. I try to listen and then talk. I'm not always able to do that, but I do try. But I think also internally, look, I mean, me and Jonathan are very, very tight, right? And it's we go back from childhood also, and it's kind of the person probably I'm spending most time with.
More than your wife.
More than my wife, and I love my dear wife and my 2 kids. They're my entire life. But with Jonathan,
Maya, right?
Mai. And of course, she makes me stronger and she makes me better every single day, and she really has my back. But with Jonathan, there's so much back and forth and so much learning process from each other that it really, just makes you smarter being with someone you appreciate and someone that you love, and that you're able to do this ping pong off of an end of a day, which is usually 1, 2 a.m., right? It's not a regular end of day. And then you're able to kind of seep in what you did, what you learned, and ping pong.
It's funny you mentioned, because me and you are both night owls, and we have conversation at 1 a.m. It's like just like normal conversation.
At the beginning, I was like, I'm sorry. You're like, what are you talking about? This is the best time.
So that's interesting. Do you think, Joseph, that we both come from an athletic background, both actually basketball players, both tall. But I think I'm 6'2", you're like 6'3", right? Like 6'2",
6'2", maybe 6'2" and a bit.
Yeah, maybe 6'2" and a bit. Do you think and obviously you're a Paul Jerusalem fan, big Paul Jerusalem fan. Like, do you think like having that athletic background has like translated into your entrepreneur skills?
Definitely. I don't have a fact. I'm sure also yours, right? If I would ask you the same thing.
That's why I'm asking it.
100%. 100%. Yeah. You're always trying to be the best. And it also gives you so many tools for life. Sports, right? For me, it was basketball, but any sport gives you tools, real tools for life, right? If it's, especially when it's in a group, right? Also tennis is incredible, different tool, but working within a group, within a team, is really something else that sets you up for life. And it's knowing how to face these challenges, and even when things are hard, to work harder and get better, and you'll be able to do whatever you want at the end.
I think basketball has a beautiful thing where it's like it's a team game. So you have that aspect, and then it's also like it's both a competitive game and also a team game. So you need to like know how to work with people and know how to beat your competition. Yeah. Tennis is a bit different. Well, you still work with your coach and you kind of have your team, but it's a bit different. Something that we've talked about in the past, and I think like I find it very valuable, and I think the audience kind of needs to kind of understand this, is that you're a father. And quite a new father, right? You have 2 kids. 2 kids. Super young. What are the ages?
2.5 and 6 months.
Like crazy. And you're working around the clock, and and for example, you have certain times where they're blocked for your kids. So, when I try to organize a meeting with you between like 6 and 8, you're like immediately, no way. Like that's the time I'm with the kids. I'm putting them to sleep. Yeah. And then you jump off and you start, you get to work again. And then you wake up in the morning and you take them to kindergarten, kindergarten, one of them. Mm-hmm. And both of them, by the way, are in kindergarten?
Just one. Yeah.
And you take them to kindergarten, and then you go back. So like, just like the understanding of like how many like things you juggle at one, and not to think about the things you juggle inside the company, which you're in charge of the marketing, and you're in charge of client and prospects, and like all this, and you're flying to New York. You're flying like to New York and to the US like every month or so, or at least
relocating next month.
You're relocating now. Yeah. Relocation. Where? To New York?
To Williamsburg, yeah.
Williamsburg. My employees are in Williamsburg.
Oh, there you go.
Wow, dude, Williamsburg is beautiful.
Yeah, Williamsburg is the best. Come, we got our space.
Williamsburg, Brooklyn is one of the best places in New York, man.
Best places.
I love Williamsburg.
You could be a hipster and you could be Hasidic. It's great.
You could be dude. It's exactly what you are. The blend of them.
Exactly. So I'm going to be right in the middle.
Amazing, man.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
So you're doing all this stuff, and this gets me this finally gets me to what I'm trying to ask you is, first, how? Like, how the fuck? Like, to be honest, like, how the fuck? And secondly, how do you stay so zen and calm? Dude, you're a calm person. Like, how?
Lack of sleep makes you very calm.
And you sometimes sleep on the couch. I know.
There you go. Sometimes you need to.
But not because the wife kicks you out, but just because
just to be quiet and to let everyone sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, first of all, my dear wife, helps me and enables me and makes me stronger. And the kids, it's just, really fills my life. So it really does. Really incredible. But also, like you said, young. I'm not that young, right? I feel like I've experienced a thing or two in my life. I'm definitely, like I said, have lots to learn. I'm 38.
It's still young, man.
I mean, it's young, but it's not young.
Right.
It's almost 40.
Yeah.
40. I mean, it's not young when you're 40.
Well, you still have a full set of hair.
But I learned in my short time and experience that being angry and being, frustrated and irritated is draining. Mm-hmm. I don't have time in my life to be drained from energies.
Right.
So honestly, I know how to kind of motivate myself and know what's important and what's less important. And whatever is less important to me, it's not going to frustrate me. You will see me angry sometimes, and you will see me very passionate about different things, but only about the things that really matter to me. Because I won't spend my energies on being angry or mad or even disappointed. Just, you got to get shit done. Like you said, that's it. Get it done. I don't care if it's in the morning, in the evening, at night, on the weekend. Just got to do something. You got to do it. And that's how we operate at Blings.
What I like about you, and I think I kind of learned it from you because I was definitely not like that before, is that knowing how to separate, if there's like a kind of like not an argument, but if there's like a conversation around a certain topic, about like separating the topic from the person, right? And like tackling the issue, the problem, and not like the person. And I find that like super helpful to basically solve complex issues. And you're like, and it creates kind of like a team setting where we're trying to fix this problem together instead of like, this is my opinion, this is your opinion. And I find that super interesting. And I think not to be like too Carl Jung or kind of like a psychologist around this, but I think there's definitely things that are coming from your childhood of like being, a kid out of like nine brothers and sisters and like this huge family needing to kind of like solve this, complexities that arise in like kind of like a subtle manner. And I find that very beautiful. Is there any kind of like book or kind of like podcast or kind of like mentor who kind of influenced that way of thinking for you?
So thanks, first of all. I actually love Carl Jung. He's one of my favorites. So I studied psychology, and his archetypes, it was really like mystical, which is very, very cool within psychology to kind of get any of that.
Very, very mystical and spiritual, and you kind of combine both. Like
exactly. I really loved Carl Jung, actually.
Me too. I love him.
My uncle is a Jungian in New York.
Really?
That's what he does. I went once into his office, and
I didn't even know that. We didn't even talk about this, right?
Yeah. And I sat down and I love him. I love my uncle, right? And I sit down and I don't know, I sit down like this and I see he's looking at me. So I don't know, so I'm doing like this. And I see that and then he's like, what, is everything okay? I said, why are you sitting there? I'm like, don't look at how I'm sitting. Stop inspecting me. Yeah. So I loved all that. I'm reading a lot of different entrepreneurship books now, trying to study different motions, different strategies. The hard thing about hard things.
Ben Horowitz,
of course. But if there was anything that inspired like me growing up, I loved reading as a kid. Even Goosebumps. Right, Goosebumps was interactive. You remember where you can pick the ending for each one of them? Right. When I was really young, I used to love that. But I don't think there's any one thing specifically that kind of inspired.
It's like this time, it's not the easiest time for lots of startup entrepreneurs, especially ones who are not in cyber. Because It's the markets, the public markets. You see what's happening. It's gotten better yesterday, but
yeah, it was a green day.
It was a green day.
Green day.
Finally, finally. And let's hope it continues to be green. Now that Trump basically removed all the other tariffs except China. But a lot of like SaaS entrepreneurs and like AI entrepreneurs and like basically entrepreneurs who are not like in the cyber field, because there is this sense like there's lots of hype in cyber right now. What like kind of advice would you give those entrepreneurs in terms of like the mindset they need to be in this time where it's not the bubble that there was in like 21, but still there's like so much opportunities and the real good companies are still going to win. Like the real companies, the companies that have a solid foundation are going to win.
Exactly. Anyone can create a software today.
Right.
Creating a business or creating a solution is much, much harder. Right. It's
100%.
Really very easy, especially with all the tools today. With Base 44 and with Lovable, you can literally look. We have one of our creative lead in Blings, Neil. Super talented. In the weekend, he comes back on the weekend. He's like, look, I created a product. And it's like an incredible product that we can now implement into Blings. Things are very easy. The technology behind it, the solution. So, what I would recommend to every entrepreneur today is, like we were talking about it before, listen to the market, experiment, right? That's what I'm not saying anything new, but really just make sure to fail fast. Know when you're pushing it too far and you're trying to convince yourself, and know when you're onto something, and you will know.
100%. Yosef, I really enjoyed this conversation, man. People can go out and follow Yosef on LinkedIn. Go check out blings.io. Go check out their LinkedIn page as well, their company LinkedIn page as well. I'm super excited for what you guys have in store. I think you guys are definitely one of, I would say, at least the 10 most exciting companies we have right now in our country. That both in terms of the hype, but also in terms of like the actual value proposition. And those two things are sometimes not correlated, but I think in this case, they definitely are. I'm really excited to hear about the next announcements. And, thank you so much, man, for taking time for this. I know you're super busy.
Thanks for having me. If it would have been at 1 a.m., it would have been a lot easier.
The studio's not open at 1 a.m.
We can find a way.
We can find a way.
Yeah.
And I hope to come visit you soon, man, in Williamsburg.
Yeah. I have a couch with your name on it anytime you want.
Let's do it, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Omri.